every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Okay, so I have to ask you, where else can you get those analyses on development in the polity, if not here on the polity, here on that radio 104.7 FM? So we are saying welcome to this program, being the 19th day of June 2025. It's Thursday edition of this very program, and we are ready for today's conversation. My name is Franklin and Ebuka. Good morning, and good morning to Chisom Chinedu. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin. How are you today?
I am fine.
I see.
You can feel that, right?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I'm very, very fine. So, Dr. Tony, good morning, and I hope you are fine too.
We're always fine, and then remember we have been told not to say that Nigeria has happened to us, that there's nothing wrong with Nigeria. I remember the Minister of Information making such statements, and some of the good patriots, they say that you can't just say Nigeria has happened to you. What do you mean by that? Rather, be the good ambassadors of Nigeria. But good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Udala and Onitsha. Niger Jemba. We also thank God Almighty for keeping us alive, because we have got so many stories. If you were in Benue State, I don't know if you will be saying things like what we do say here, but all the same, you are welcome.
So, Tony, what do you say to somebody who wakes up and begins to think that he has lost money because he didn't know how he spent a certain amount of money? The person picks a calculator to calculate how the money was spent, and lo and behold, he did not misspend.
Frankly, I know you are coming back to me.
Nigeria happened to
I didn't call anybody.
I know you are coming back to me.
I didn't call anybody.
Because I remember having such tete-a-tete with you.
I did not call anybody's name.
I remember having such chat with you. And it turns down that you're putting it to me as a question. All the same, just like what I was actually telling you before this program, that do you know that our money has lost value to the point that you may even think you've lost money or you have misspent, but by the time you put a calculator and then do the addition, you would not have not misspent anything. It tells you how terrible our economy is, how terrible the purchasing power is. And just like I told you earlier on, money, it is what it can buy. That's what money is. I don't like people defining money these days as the measure of value, measure of this. Money, the way we have it in this country, does not measure any value. It is what it can buy. Because there are things that are less valuable, but they are being sold at a very high price. There are things that may not measure up to the amount they are being sold. So it's not a measure of value again. As far as we are concerned, it is what it can buy. That is what money is all about. So it's a terrible experience.
All right, so Chisom, maybe MI made the prophecy when he sang money. Money had to enter, but how money they go, I don't know.
I was going to say that as money they go, nobody really know. Nigeria has happened to the money, Tony Ndoo. It's happening to everybody's money, as a matter of fact. This minute, you have one credit alert, and the next minute, you're having 30 debit alerts. We are all in this together. But, I was thinking to myself, did you see this picture trending of a bread that is sold for 48,500 naira?
Bread of life.
That's what they tagged it, bread of life.
Bread of life.
And I was asking myself, if it's imported, like some persons claimed, why is it even allowed to land on the Nigerian soil? I mean, I've been trying to make a logical calculation. We say FX for certain products would not be supplied. Okay, if they manage to source their own FX, shouldn't even be contraband. Such a product should be impounded, because we are talking made in Nigeria, and we're also talking about the grave damage that is doing to FX accessibility in the country. And so people are looking for foreign exchange to buy important things. People are mopping up foreign exchange to go and buy bread of life.
We have a disgrace for foreign medical. Do you know there's a point in time in Abuja, people were importing gari to be sold at supermarkets. People once imported stew to be sold in supermarket in Nigeria.
We are own problems. And you know what? These elites who can afford it, they are the ones killing the naira.
For me, I keep saying there are many opportunities in this country. But the truth remains that some of these opportunities, many of our youths are not seeing. And we wait government to do everything for us. But I tell you, government has a role to play, there's no doubt. But look beyond you. What is that solution you are going to bring to people or group of people or set of people who may need this? Think if you can render that solution, be a solution. Once you can render any service as a solution to what people want, what they need, what they demand, you started making something. Can we think beyond or outside the box and be of a solution? It could be anything. There are times you find out that these people, they need this, but they don't have it, or they could have maybe got this to work for them in this way than what they have currently. If you look at all these things, these are opportunities we are not seeing. So we have to carve out opportunities for ourselves. That's more like to encourage our youth instead of being at home and say there's no job. Most countries thrive on vocational skills, things you can do, things you can render, services you can render, and make something out of it. But what we are saying is that as you put this effort, let the reward be the what? Let the reward actually be, consumable to the effort you've put or you've rendered. That's where government comes in.
All right, so once more, welcome to the Polity on the Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha, the seriously authentic radio station. Don't forget we are on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Like I do urge you all the time, ensure that you have liked the page and follow us. And then when we make a post, please do share. And then watch our video on that very platform too. On YouTube and Instagram, we are Udala Radio. Keep on watching the video. In fact, if you want to check us out on X and TikTok, it's still Udala Radio. So we are on all platforms to ensure that you keep on engaging with you and also sharing our content with you. Once more, my name is Franklin and Ebuka. Now let's get to the very first thing we have on that this very morning, which is about a World Sickle Cell Day, because today is actually World Sickle Cell Day. It's 2025 World Sickle Cell Day, and this is just an annual observation which is held globally on this very day. And the aim is simply to increase public awareness about sickle cell disease. It also serves as a platform to highlight the challenges faced by patients and families impacted by the chronic and the agonizing disease. We know the challenges that come with sickle cell disease, and that's why a day like this is mapped out for this very awareness. So if somebody is teaching you something about sickle cell, please take it seriously, because it's for our own good and for the unborn generation. And this very year has a theme that says global action, local impact, empowering communities for effective self-advocacy. What is the theme talking about? It's simply underlining the need to amplify the voices of those affected by sickle cell anemia, directly or indirectly, vis-a-vis patients and their family members. And the theme for this very year also means that there's this very call upon global stakeholders for us to unite for relevant research and policy amendment. As I could say, it's not about when two people who are incompatible to marry in terms of genotype, and they insist they must go ahead to marry. So it's a message to every one of you to internalize this and know that it's not a joke.
I think it's very important, as you pointed out earlier on, because whenever we talk about sickle cell, I think everybody by now know what sickle cell is all about, because people who have the disorder, the CXD disorder, sickle cell disease or sickle cell disease disorder and all that, I think that I remembered. Just like you pointed out earlier on, the world is celebrating them, creating awareness and education, and then the need for early diagnosis and newborn, ending stigmatization and discrimination, because sometimes when people who have these disorder, they are stigmatized, and they need to ensure that it does not continue. Equity in care, aspects, and every other thing that should be known. But remember, as of now, it has no cure. But I know researchers, scientists are making frantic effort, and just like people will bring it up to the social balance, it's not about love. If you have the X chromosome in your blood stream, definitely you have to be aware before you get married. Ensure that there is proper texting, so that XX or AX does not marry somebody who is also AX. Because if you marry somebody who is AX when you are AX, there are chances that you are going to have offspring that will be XX, and you wouldn't endanger their life, because they suffer pains. They suffer a lot of things, and sometimes many of them with cerebral brainy, and because it's not properly managed, they will end up having such dream cut off. I've lost a friend who had such disorder, but then remember, it causes even organ damage, infections, and they need space, they need air. But the awareness campaign is, let's not put ourselves in such situation in the first instance. Because, I don't want to talk about the sickle cell thing, because once the blood cells are sickled, that is more like a C shape instead of being normal or round, and in their movement they stick to the blood vessels wall, and they kind of coagulate, making hemoglobin, which is very important in oxygen transportation in the body system, to be less efficient. So the point remains that let's not find ourselves in such situation in forces. So that's the most important thing.
All right, so to all the warriors, sickle cell warriors, of course, we are with you on this very day. We're with you, and just like the message, let's do the needful. And I understand that researchers have shown that there are now other genotype outside the AS and SS we know.
Yeah, the first time I think I came across such a report was, remember liquor of BBN? I can't remember which year exactly.
I can't
yes, recall. I think when the discussion about Lakon's looks came up, there was this revelation of him bearing, I think, the SC or something of that nature. And that was the first time I heard about other types of the cell, apart from the conventional AAAS and all of those. But then for me, it's World Sickle Cell Day, and I'm looking at the prevention of the spread, which is very basic. A merger between a carrier and a carrier, AS versus AS, or probably SS versus AS. As long as the two of them are carriers, that's how you birth sickle cell kids. And so, like you said, it's not a thing that is fought by faith. It's a thing that can be fought by reasoning. When people talk about tough love, I like to think that when you love something, you let it go. You don't rope it into stress. Having a sickle cell child is a life of stress, not just for the child, but for you as a parent. And so when people talk about love, I cannot live without you, I ask the question, are you sure you can live with the pain that you are walking into with your eyes very clear? I once witnessed a sickle cell patient have a crisis, and that scene hasn't left my mind ever. I saw that boy, how he was in so much pain he could barely walk. He had come to a pharmacy to get on some quick medication to handle his pains, and since that very day I have not stopped begging young adults, before you walk into a relationship, especially if you know you're a carrier, the first thing you should know about the prospect is if the person is a carrier or not. Please, for the love of God, for your own self, and for the sake of the innocent human who you are going to build and bring in here to suffer, things are not working here. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Health facilities are not as effective as we would want them to be, and then you are opening yourself up to the torture. I hope you know what you're doing.
All right,
I hope your love does not go blind when it starts.
Okay, so let's not talk about another thing. I don't know whether it was love or something else, because we know that campaigns in the public have already started here in Anambra State ahead of the November 8th Anambra gubernatorial election, and there was a trend I saw. Should I call that a token? I observed a development, and I said I was going to bring it up here, and thank God that someone else has amplified what I observed. I'm talking about an observation where I saw mobilization of school children to campaign ground. That was actually on Tuesday at Anaku community, which is in Ayami local government area of Anambra State. From what I gathered, students of Obwe High School Anaku, they were mobilized to a political rally to welcome a governorship candidate in the state on that said date. From what we saw, as of 7 p.m. on that very day, students were still at the campaign ground, waiting for the candidate to arrive. And when he arrived, what did they do? They just formed the line to welcome into the arena. And that got me thinking, why are we desecrating everywhere in the name of politics? Why are we desecrating every institution, every structure we have for future generation, just because people want to get to power? And I've been asking, what's that rationale behind this very mobilization? Who was the brain behind it? Was it the idea of the candidate or the idea of the school? Who are those teachers who were involved? Was it head teacher or any other teacher? And then the students, were they aware of what they were taking, what they were being taken for and other things? Then for the Ministry of Education, was it aware? Was permission sought and gotten before such thing happened? Was the ministry observing, paying attention at the same time, picking lessons and see how they can get to punish those who are responsible for these things we are doing? Was it not yesterday we saw in Benue State where school children also lined up, by the roadside to welcome Mr. President under the rain? Well, the issue of Benue, I'm going to leave it out for now. But let's talk about this Anambra incidents. School children being mobilized to campaign ground for whatever purpose. Is it proper?
I saw the article, though I didn't read it from beginning to the rear, but I was interested to know the very school and then the candidate involved. But it seems that the author, for whatever reason, intentionally shielded the candidate from what we are discussing. Probably the author wouldn't want to demarcate any candidate. I guess that could be the reason. And then the author was specific about his message. Leave school children out of politicking. Mobilizing them when they should be in classrooms. For them to welcome a candidate for any election. It is anomaly. It is totally against certain principles. And if you bring the issue of a Child Rights Act, you also maybe inadvertently violated that act. And I agree to an extent. And then, because school children, when they should be in classroom, we should allow them to be in classroom. Yesterday, we are bemoaning the governor of Benue State for announcing public holiday when Mr. President is coming on a condolence visit, not even an official visit. Condolence. And Mr. President highlighted it. You lock down schools, declare public holiday. It is politics, politicking. So that should stop. We should allow this young generation, we have bastardized their future, to make something out of the bastardized future they may hope for. Because we have desecrated, destroyed anything they can hold on to for a lofty dreams many of them may have. So we should allow them to be in classrooms.
Okay, so that's the message. And then
that's the message. And like Tony pointed out, the children shouldn't be involved in the entire drama. You recall in 2021, was it 2021, the last Anambra State governorship election? One of the candidates, unfortunately, was attacked, you recall, during one of those rallies. I think a police officer fell to that particular attack. And while it may not be the same scenario, but we see elections turning into different things in different parts of the country at different times. And this is like putting these kids in harm's way. And like the author of the article you shared, Franklin, rightly said, the children may not necessarily even feel bad. They might be enjoying the idea of being out to, welcome a governorship candidate. But at the end of the day, this is putting them in harm's way even. This is disrupting their activities. Can we please keep children out of the entire system? This is not where they should be.
Because even as a core member, if you wear your uniform to go for any campaign rally, once you are caught, you are in for it.
Oh, wow.
Then how much more these very school children?
You can imagine.
Okay, so let's go to see what the papers are saying. All right, so we have a 4 newspaper this very morning for us to look at the headlines. We have a Vanguard, The Nation, Punch, and the Guardian newspapers. Let's begin with the headlines on Vanguard newspaper. As usual, advertorial is occupying the bigger part of Vanguard newspaper's front page, coming from FCTA. It's all about project inauguration by Mr. President. And then beside the nameplate, you see a headline that says, Benue killings. We will confront land grabbing head on to bring peace. Tinubu, check page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. CBN's forbearance. Zenith Bank assures investors on exit by June 30. And then Rivers Park Estate, court restrains IGP, EFCC, head IGP monitoring unit for corridor from alleged right violation and obstruction. Check page 57 of the Vanguard newspaper. The other headlines on Vanguard we have to look at this very morning. INEC denies registering 2 new political parties. Yesterday it was arrived that 2 parties had been birthed, but INEC went on X and debunked that. Benue killings, okay, let's leave this out. And this one says, I wasn't prepared to rule, but had good upbringing, training. Go on. He was on TV yesterday where he talked about several things regarding the Civil War of 1967 and other things that happened when he was in power. Kano's incitement led to violence in Southeast, DSS tells court. Israel-Iran war. Khamenei vows Iran will not surrender, warns U.S. against interference. Iran is not backing down. A PDP crisis is not about Atiku alone. It's an ego battle. Governor Lawal, he's the one saying, so the governor of Zamfara State. And these are the headlines we have on Vanguard newspaper.
All right, from the Vanguard newspaper, we proceed to The Nation. And like you pointed out, Franklin, a couple of advertorials here. I'd like to think this is an advertorial season because half of the front page of The Nation here is also in that line, talking about Governor Babagana Zulum's achievements in office. But above the nameplate of the paper is also an advertorial talking about Dangote and what he's been up to in the past.
His bonanza.
Concerning the August. We are looking forward to what is going to happen in August. New tax system to take effect January. That's from page 4. Or that's on page 4. Zenith Bank to exit CBN regulatory forbearance June 30. That's on page 9. Fuss over deduction from airtime on USSD transactions. That's on page 6. Banner headline here. Benue killings. President goes hard on security chiefs. The riders get the criminals, says Tinubu, alias 6 state police. Tortive. Invaders target our lands. These you'd find on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. But of course, there are other stories. Why Aburi Accord failed? Go on has that to say. Bank customers, phone subscribers reject fees on airtime for USSD transactions. Kekere Kuna shows of judiciary support for anti-terror war. We caught IPOB members eating human flesh, says DSS. Super Falcons to face Portugal, Ghana in pre-WAFCON friendlies. Those are the stories you'd find on The Nation.
Okay, so for Nation newspaper, let's go to the Punch newspaper. And we have another advertorial here on the front page of the Punch newspaper. It's all about welcoming Mr. President to the commissioning of roads linking Mabushi with Katampe and George's Quarter area in Abuja today. So it continues the commissioning of the project. And then beside the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, it says Tinubu assembles top brass ex-governors to end Benue killings. There are writers to this story. Let's see the writers and see what they're saying. Okay. So this one says ex-generals. Okay, I can't see this very clearly, so I think we have to leave it out and then move to other headlines we have on Punch newspaper. INEC fires back at coalition over 2027 party registration delay. USSD debt. Subscribers, banks, telcos agree on airtime billing. And then Senate probes NNPCL over missing 210 trillion naira in audited reports. Marketers consult foreign traders for cheaper fuel imports. That's on Punch newspaper. $457 million on remitted funds. Reps tackle 13 oil firms recover $86 million. Other headline says over 200 operatives slain amid southeast unrest. DSS tells court. 22 oil workers died on duty last year. That's FG saying so. Niger tragedy, 207 dead, 700 missing. Governor of Niger State. Ghana president offers Joshua citizenship ambassadorship. That's on Punch newspaper, and that is the end of the stories we have this morning on Punch.
Proceeding to the Guardian newspaper, banner headline: reactions trail Tinubu's Benue visit. Land grab remark: rising IDPs. That's on page 6. Now above that, Zenith Bank assures investors of exit from forbearance obligation. That's on page 15. River Park Estates Court restrains IGP EFCC from alleged rights violation. That's on page 30. World Sickle Cell Day. Carriers, stakeholders bemoan high cost of care, health insurance omission. That's on page 6. You know, when we talked about World Sickle Cell Day earlier, we also forgot to mention that stakeholders need to also do better.
Exactly.
Because our health system isn't working. So we are talking possibly insurance and also, what I call it, more affordable health care for people living with certain health conditions in the country.
Exactly. Okay, so these are the headlines we have this very morning on the 4 newspapers we have. We have to get into the conversations in a moment. Stay with us. Right, so thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity Thursday edition, this 19th day of June 2025. My name is Franklin and Chisom and Dr. Olisa Mbeki. Three of us are here for this very morning conversation. So you have listened to the headlines and have to look at the issues now. On top of the agenda is the visit of Mr. President to Benue State to fathom what has been happening over there. And yesterday he arrived at Makurdi, the capital of Benue State, and we learned that the first thing he did was to go to the hospital where survivors of that very attack, the water attack, where they are receiving treatment in hospital, where he went and condoled with them. In fact, I saw one picture that speaks volume. In fact, I had to post it on my status. You know, a woman who was in the hospital when delegation with Mr. President arrived, and the way he looked, the way he looked unconcerned about that very visit speaks a whole lot. But when he got there, of course, he offered some words of hope to the people who are hospitalized. And from there, he went to Makurdi, or rather, he went to the venue for the town hall, still in Makurdi. At that very town hall, lots of things came up. He asked questions about what the security chiefs have been doing in response to the attack in Yewata. We saw when he called the IGP, he stood up, he asked questions why people have not been arrested. He also asked the CDS why people have not been arrested, and he charged all of them to work together and ensure that they get to rein on that very situation. At the end of the day, he said they are going to have a peace committee which is going to sit in Abuja and ensure that they get to find a lasting peace to the issue. But another thing that came up was that it was laid bare to him that what he was thinking about the crisis in Benue wasn't actually a real situation, because the tour thief made a statement which people have been commending. In fact, when he was talking, the applause was so loud, and that showed that he was speaking their mind. And at the end of the day, we cannot say what they are going away with from that visit. But if we have to pinpoint anything, it could say that the president has heard from the horse's mouth. At least he's been able to hear from them what the issues are. And the next one will now be, what are they going to do to ensure that they get a rein on this? We're going to listen to certain voices. We're going to listen to the charge that Mr. President gave, and at the same time listen to that very statement which was made by the tour thief, telling Mr. President about the situation in that very Benue State. Stay with us.
grave concern about the misinformation and misrepresentation of the security crisis in Benue State. Your Excellencies, it is not herder farmers clashes, it's not communal clashes, it's not repressor attacks or skirmishes. It is this misinformation that has led to suggestions such as remain tolerant, negotiate for peace, learn to live with your neighbors. What we are dealing with here in Benue is a calculated, well-planned, full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign by herder terrorists and bandits, which has been on for decades and is worsening every year. Wrong diagnosis will always lead to wrong treatment.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
All right, so Tony, we're just listening to the tour team, James Ayate, who spoke at that very town hall, and he laid bare what he believes is the issue behind the killings in Benue State. So how do we come in now?
Remember, the tour chief is the chairman of Council of Chiefs and traditional rulers in Benue State. So he spoke on that capacity. And just as he told Mr. President that this issue is not herders farmer clashes as being speculated, he's called it genocidal invasion and calculated attempt to grab their lands and wipe them out. Whenever you talk about genocide, it's not about trying to extinguish a particular race from the surface of the earth. And when such a wild-scale killings and maiming of people continues from year in, year out. Like he said it's something that had been there for decades, but it seems that it is worsening on yearly basis. And this is where they have found themselves, that wrong diagnosis implies wrong treatment. If you don't call something for what it is, you may end up worsening the situation you found that thing in the first instance or in the first place. So remember, I shared such sentiments yesterday when we were talking here, and over time our political leaders have insisted that it is farmer herders clashes, competition of resources, issue of land allocation. Mr. President still insisted on that because he told the governor to allocate lands for ranching. And many of them look at their face or their faces when Mr. President said that. They just had a wrinkled faces. They are talking about killings in their homeland, being displaced from their ancestral lands. Some group of either strangers, foreigners, who have descended on us, and you're asking us to make land allocation for them for ranching. And remember what killed Ruga when President Buhari floated Ruga. Many Nigerians came against Ruga, and Ruga was more like cattle colony, ranching, and what have you. And many came out. In fact, some Southeast governors, you must commend them at that point. Some of them said, we don't have lands to give out for colony. And that Ruga was more about cattle roots, their movements, creating colony, creating ranching. And one thing that you know is this: if you go by history and antecedents, you will find out that if you donate your land for ranching, it may become settlements. That's the fear. Because some people who have had such checkered history will tell you that from ranching, or you call it colony, whatever you call it, whatever name it goes by, it will become settlement. And once it becomes settlement, it is something permanent. Before you know it, you'll be told that we are the owners of this very place. So with such fear, that is more reason, instead of allocate land for ranching, let them rent spaces if they want to do their business. And Mr. President did not also take into cognizance that there is anti-open grazing law that structurally, administratively, and business-wise draft how such business, that cattle business, how it will be run in Benue State. There are abattoirs, and then if you want to have space for ranching, you can rent one. It's not something governor comes out to allocate. There are people who have land. Meet them. If they sell to you, fine. If they don't sell to you, fine. Just like if you want to, has any government allocated land for those who are doing businesses? Most times, I've not seen government in any part of the country say, I allocate this land for farmers. Farmers look for farmlands. They search, they pay, they rent, they lease. Government has not come and say, you know what, these lands all over here, we allocate it for farmers. And let them take. I know maybe Mr. President may be saying this with good intention. But once you are paying your tax in any state, you're a citizen of that very state. But we're talking about indigenous, non-indigenous. That these people would come together and look for peace. But Totif told him that these things, we've done them in the past and it did not take us anywhere. And the most important thing is that these people, they have a mission, and their mission is to conquer, take our lands, if possible, wipe us out. I saw a video of Autumn. I think that video could be past video. I don't think it's a current video, where he was saying that he has documents where Fulani National Association, I think an umbrella body, told not just him and then even those who care to know that Benue belongs to them, that they are the rightful owners of that very land, that what they couldn't achieve in 1804, that they are going to achieve it now. And according to Autumn, he said he has the documents and he has shared it with security agencies where these statements were made. But I doubt if that video is current video. It could be when he was governor of Benue State. So, and it tells you quite a lot. Like Mr. President yesterday said, Inspector General, stand up. He stood up like a student. The president asked, where are the arrests? Have you made arrests? Why is it that you have not made arrests? He was trying to say something. Christopher, that is the chief of defense staff, he stood up like a student. Where are the arrests? Why? That he's surprised that arrests have not been made. Because I said it here the other time, that in all of this, no arrest has been made. So Mr. President was surprised. I wonder the kind of security briefs he usually gets, because from time to time they do have a security meeting, security brief and all that. What is all this all about? He should be in total control of the situation. From the look of things, he is not aware of a lot of things. For him to have come out openly to be asking arrest, where are the arrests? It means he is not aware, he's totally unaware of certain developments. It tells you that he has lost a little bit of control.
Or the other way around, wouldn't you think that it's possible that it's the normal antics of politicians playing to the gallery?
Whichever one it is, because I feel if it's total, if totally, he would have been able to tell us that so a number of these arrests have been made. You are asking, you are subordinate because he's the commander-in-chief. No doubt. He is the one leading the command. He's the one commanding. Where a commander comes and asks the sub-commanders, no arrest. Does it mean they don't communicate? Does it mean he doesn't get certain brief? Because the Office of the National Security Advisor coordinates every security agency in this country. So they work like one seamlessly. Share intelligence, share information, share tactics, and quite a lot. But what I saw yesterday was some kind of gaps, holes, and things that are not coherent. it piques everyone's imagination that if these people will come this way, and whether they camped in Nasarawa, whether they camped in Taraba, whether they camped in Kogi, wherever they camp is immaterial, but the fact remains that they camped. They came with sophisticated weapons, unleashed mayhem, havoc on these people, and stayed there for hours, because they didn't do it within minutes. They were there for hours, operated for hours, and went scot-free. And we've said it many times, certain security measures have not been put in place in Benue State. I keep saying it. The governor is politicizing the whole issue. Take it to the bank. Declaring public holiday, whipping that there are some people who are against him, they're after him. Just like Mr. President told him yesterday that there are those who are also after him. There are those who hate him, who do not want him to be the president, but today he's the president of everybody. So there are those who will not want you or who may not like you as the governor. But that should not be your mantra when addressing issues of security. And from the look of things, he has not been working with anybody, even the stakeholders. Those in the National Assembly, they have said, governor cut them off. Those at the presidency level, governor cut off. They cut everyone according to their stories. And you want lasting peace solution. You don't bring people together. You don't try to ensure that they work together, they cooperate. You are so much interested in you coming back again. They don't want you to come back again. These things are neither here nor there. The point remains that I pity the people of Benue State because the leaders have failed them. These decks we recorded is clearly failure of leadership. That is reason we have this debt. There is no doubt about it. There's nothing anybody can say about this.
So the president mentioned setting up a committee, and that is where I think the interest should be in the coming days, especially since what happened in Benue has happened, and we also know that unfortunately our politicians are not living up to the responsibilities we expect them to live up to. Tony, you pointed out yourself that this is probably there is sort of this unity among the stakeholders in that state. But of course, that disunity is on one side. I like to think that's a political problem. It's not the reason the people of Benue are dying. It's not the reason marauders, killer herders are overtaking their lands. Their unity or not is a political problem, strictly their political business, not a solution or even something to be discussed when we are talking about what is happening in Benue, because these people do not live in the state. As a matter of fact, excuse me please, yesterday there was a report that the president could not get to Yelwata because of the bad roads. And unfortunately, I do not know how many of them have actually taken a trip to Yelwata. I mean, these representatives who are saying they have not been carried along, how many of them have actually gone to Yelwata? How many of them have gone to tour the sites of the carnage that happened there? You already know the answer to that question. And so the question now would be, are we ready? Is Mr. President ready? Is this committee ready to address the problem, which is land grabbing? Are we ready to legislate on the issue of cattle rearing? Like I'd always say, it is private business. I should be treated as such. And so where the government even allocates lands or, puts out a destination for markets, people still have to pay to own stores, right? The government collects revenue even if they are to sell those places. And so if we are talking about the cattle rearing solution as a private business, I think cattle is not even cheap. To buy a sizable cow now, you are counting 1.3 million. And so you cannot even tell me that people who have animal resources that amount to this kind of capital cannot afford to buy themselves land spaces. If that is what we have legislated on, and the state governments can facilitate that to make that a possibility. And so the big question now, Tony, would be, are we ready to start having this conversation? This attitude of nomadic cattle rearing, isn't it about time that, peaceful or not, cattle rearing is private business and should be confined to a space?
Just like I always say, they are using cattle as a way to gain some advantage so that everybody may think it's all about cattle or no cattle. And it could be what the thought thief said. There is agenda, and that hidden agenda is to take up the Benue lands and then convert it to their own.
Give me a second. Sorry to butt in there.
Okay.
Are they farmers? I mean, these people that want to take up the land. Because if they are farmers or they want to take up the Benue land and farm on it, are they herders? They want to take up the Benue land and graze their cattle off the grain field. And again, when the grain field finishes, what happens?
When we talk about land, we are not talking about to use it for farming business. We are talking about taking it up as being the owners of the land. So we are. I don't want to give some historical anecdotes, but remember what happened in Para State and some other places in this country? I was listening to Udala yesterday when he was having his media shots on certain developmental stride as a governor he has made in Zamfara State. He said when he came in as a governor that he understands that the problem, the insecurity in Zamfara State is as a result of disagreement between Hausas and Fulanis. That's according to him. And he said they are 99.9% Muslims. So what are the issues? What are these disagreements? And he said, whatever be the case, that his government is ready to render assistance in many ways. This is what you are having grievance over. Why don't we provide an alternative to that? Why don't we? And he said he started that way, and that's what resulted in peace and stability in Zamfara State. And then what could be that in question? It was yesterday I discovered that Hausas and Fulanis we are having problem in Zamfara State, according to the governor. How he fought insecurity in that very state, and it has to do with land. See, it's not a case whereby people are looking for settlement and possible ownership.
You see, Tony, when I asked you that question, when a people settle in a place, they need a means of livelihood, right? People who are fishermen are most likely going to proceed to a place where there is water, what's it called now? Where there is water base for them to go into fishing. People who are herders are most likely going to move into where is green field to feed their cattle. People who are farmers, of course, we've not had farmers in this kind of conflict before, but if you get my point, you will not want to conquer a place that is not going to be economically viable to you, because you will not eat sand, right? And so the question is, if these people, we need to actually decipher their occupation, because while we are having this conversation and feel it is not relevant, if we say they are just land grabbers, what is the occupation of these land grabbers? Because it is only a matter of time when the cattle, the green fields in Benue are cultivated by people. Take them out, feed on their green field, and they will continue their journey. And it's only a matter of time before another state becomes their victim. That's my point.
I think I have said it here. Let's not mistake certain understanding here. Nigeria is not one of the top countries when it comes to cattle business. We have about 20 to 22 million cattle in this country. That's what we have. And you are talking about a country like Brazil that has over 230 million cattle. A country like India that has over 305 million cattle. We have just 22 million. But we are looking at countries that have 305 million, just like I said, India, which is the world largest, followed by Brazil, about 230 million cattle. Even China, they have about 95 million cattle. United States of America here has about 89 million cattle. So you can go all and all and all. Even Argentina, about 53 million cattle. So, and have you heard about any clashes, killings, and all that? We are talking about, we don't even export cattle. These countries are called, they export cattle. They export their feeds, and they make so much millions of dollars from such business, and it adds to their GDP, it adds to their well-being, it adds to everything they do. And such business, look at how these businesses are coordinated. Is not nomadic. Nomadic is just moving cattle around. There's no movement of cattle by foot in these countries I've mentioned, but are doing well. So I have said it that it is not much about cattle business. It's about the underlying intention to conquer, to take over a space, a land, and possibly to settle there. It could come in different guise, either for cattle business and others. So these people, these communities in Benue State and even Benue State, they are aware of such hidden intention. For them, they wouldn't want situations where they will be displaced in future and where they will be told that the land does not belong to them again. So when the Mr. President more the idea of allocating land for ranching, and many of them are not happy about it. So the idea has always been, if you want to do cattle business, it's regulated in Benue State. The legislature has prescribed how you go about getting a space, how you go about it, and there is no mention, there is no reference, no citation of such law. So what it means that either the federal government does not recognize the law, or they don't want to respect the laws of the state, which they have constitutional powers to make. So the point is, these people need protection. And just like I've said, the other one said in his hometown, I think he has about over 5,000 community watch. That is a kind of vigilante group. They need to have something like that, just as the chief of defense staff suggested. You must have working and active vigilante service. Yesterday, I'm happy that the governor called for state police. He hasn't called for that, and I have been criticizing him. Yesterday, he called for state police. He also called that he has rendered his own report on state police, just as governor of Zamfara State, Udala, said yesterday, because I listened to his media chat. He said also he has also tendered his report on state police creation to the National Economic Council, NEC. So the idea is states need to enforce their laws. There are many state laws that are not enforced. I said it yesterday. And if you look at the federal police, they are not interested in enforcing certain state laws, for the reason being that it does not, or these laws may not align with the federal principles or federal thoughts. So we must solve that problem. And another thing there is, we are looking at a solution. It's good that Mr. President asked the governor to announce for people to donate blood to those who are recuperating, and I have not listened to the governor make such announcement. And he was also talking about special trust fund for those who are displaced, those who are receiving treatment, those who are hospitalized. Very good. But the most important thing is, we must also beam our touch on those who are receiving treatment. Their health, very important to us. So, Mr. President, Elder Committee is good. Let's hear from everybody. There's nothing wrong with that. But we must also acknowledge the hidden intention behind some of these things.
All right, so let's go for this very commercial break. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
The number one quality bread. Wendy's bread. For your family breakfast. Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread. Number one at chicha do. Wendy's bread. Even children, they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Number one in town. Wendy's bread. You get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread. Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread. Number one, the champion.
Wendy's bread, your number one tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside CPS, Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your number one tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Right, you're tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity this Thursday morning. We've been talking about the matters arising from the visit of Mr. President to Benue State. That was yesterday, and he went in the aftermath of the killings that happened in Yewata in Benue State, and many things have developed since then. And now, Tony, because this very committee, call it whether they called it peace committee or leadership committee, of course, some persons have been identified as those who are going to be part of it. Take, for instance, the paramount ruler of TV Nation, whom we have referenced, talking about Professor James Ayatse, who spoke at that very event, that very town hall. He's going to be part of it. And you also mentioned that some other persons who have been selected to be part of it, former military governor of Benue State, General Aton Bera, Senator George Akume is going to be part of it, who happens to be SGF. then Senator Gabriel Suswan is going to be part of it. Likewise, Semilotom and all former governors of Benue State and other people who have been mentioned. Now, one area I'm thinking that they need to look into by the time this committee begins to see in Abuja is let them sit and try to identify who is the strike force. People who are going to committees to attack, are they the headers we see, who move around with the cattle, or there is an armed militia somewhere that they are working with?
I guess the question is rhetoric in the sense that we know the answer. They are not the headers we see. They are terrorists. But the other thing would be, do they have connivance with the headers we see? They could. Is something investigation may reveal. And for whatever reason, if you look at some of these attacks, they're unprovoked. If there is a provocation, you begin to look in that sense that there could be some injuries rendered to these people. These attacks were spontaneous and unprovoked. Nothing one can lay hand on and say this was what caused this attack. Villagers will be in their homes. Before you know it, a certain group of militias, terrorists, bandits will unleash mayhem on them. Not just they will kill them, they will burn down their houses. When you burn down one's houses, kill the person, what is left? Possibly you want to take over the space. You are not taking over the space for your cattle business, because your cattle business will not take almost all the town. What are you looking for? What are your intentions? The meeting, first and foremost, must identify, because I'm looking at the security agencies, they should identify those behind it, because if they do not identify them, we can boldly say we are not safe also in this country. Does it mean anybody can walk in either from Cameroon or Mali or Libya, as the cases, as the speculations have had in the past, and then kill us? Or does it mean we cannot be in total control of our affairs? For things like this to happen, it also points to the fact that we may not be in total control of our affairs. It is something we must look into. And he also asked our immigration officials, people come into this country, how many times have we had mass deportation of these Nigerians, these Malians, these Burkinabes, these people that we don't even know, these aliens? Our borders are porous. That's the story we keep having all the time. And one thing you should know about these headers, or these terrorist headers, they could be intercontinental. They may move from one country to the other for one sole purpose. If you go back to history, that of 1804, it started somewhere. And according to Autumn, in that video, he said that this is a country, the same set of people call their country given to them. By who?
Now, so what role can Magban play in trying to find peace in these very troubled areas in Nigeria? Because each time there is issue of terrorist headers, or whatever you call it, invading communities and killing people, they always find a way to make a statement. Just yesterday, there was an understatement that came from Magban, and I'm going to reference part of it. It says, the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Magban, has alleged that more than 57 Fulani herders have been killed and over 4,348 cattle stolen in Benue State since 2025, with no single arrest, prosecution, or compensation for the victims. Now, they issued a statement that was titled, "Two Wrongs Don't Make a Right." Magban is saying that there's a bleak future for Fulani herders, and they are accusing authorities of neglect and the media silence. And they went ahead to describe the violence as systematic and targeted, warning that continued injustice would only escalate tensions and hinder peace efforts. So, what role can Magban play in our bid to find peace, or to find a lasting peace, when you talk about this issue of people going into villages, killing people in the name of whatever they think they are fighting for?
Magban, we've known, seems to have been fueling this problem, judging by their statement, their utterances, and what their views have always been. If you think there were cattle rustled, did you report that to security agencies? Was there any report? Where did it happen? How did it happen? These things we are not made known. If you ask, please, they may tell you. It's left for them to say if there were reports of such thing. I remember that their president, Bello Bodejo, the national president of this Miate Ala Katug Hore or Kauta Hore, remember he was arrested at the Nasarawa state office by DSS agents and soldiers. And the arrest came after he announced the formation of a nomad vigilante group called Kongia Zaman Lafia, if you remember that period, to assist in security efforts in Nasarawa state, even when that very group was not registered with any government security agencies. He was arrested. So they had this thought. And for you to have such thought to form such a vigilante group, you want to get them now to be formalized, wear them uniform so they will go on with their killing spree. At a point, he said he had such discussion with Governor of Nasarawa State, Alhaji Sule. But he dismissed that, said there was never such report. But I'm also aware that sometime around February, because he was arrested in January, I think January 23, 2024. Sometimes around February, he was detained by the Defense Intelligence Agency. And then they tied their investigation to allegations under the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. I'm aware that sometime around 2024, I think it was around March, Bodejo was arraigned before a federal high court for establishing an unauthorized ethnic militia. That was what the president of the Mieti Ala Kaota or whatever they call their names. And then he was granted bail, but sometime around December again, he was arrested by the Nigerian army over an incident in Tudun Wada, which involved a retired general whose cattle were allegedly invaded. So if you look around, you can also understand that this very group, the Magban, they seem to have been fueling some of these problems, because with their statements, these people are emboldened. And one can say investigation should reveal whether these people who are attacking these villagers are their militia group or groups. Investigations should point to whether if they have militia wing that caused some of these things and what could be their intention. Many have said that their intention is to conquer those spaces, conquer those lands, and settle there permanently. So it is important why we try peace. The Bodejo so arrested, I don't know whether he has been released or still in detention or incarcerated. I don't know. It tells you a lot. It tells you a lot. And there are some speculations that these people were camped in Nasarawa State, border with Benue State. And it was also reported that Bodejo at a point had wanted to form a militia where he had wanted to wear them uniform, which he was arrested for. What does that point to you?
All right, so that's the question, and then we have to leave this very matter about Benue State because a lot needs to be said. Even how we saw as few children under the rain being lined up by the roadside to welcome Mr. President. Mr. President was coming to Benue State for an issue that put everybody into mourning, and the young people were on the road to. Well, that's by the way. Now let's look at what former military head of state said. I'm talking about Yakubu Gowon. He was on TV, that was yesterday, and he said lots of things. But let's begin from what he said. Nigeria's former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, retired, has said he was not prepared to rule Nigeria when he took over as a military head of state at the age of 31. Gowon said this when he appeared on TV interview. He narrated how his upbringing and training as a military officer prepared him to deal with situations efficiently. And Gowon said, I had a good upbringing from home, school, and various military trainings, and I was brought up in a strict religious background. I fell back on all these. I was not prepared to rule Nigeria, but I was a loyal soldier trained to serve my country. And then several other questions were asked. In fact, he was even asked why he created 12 states. He said it was based on demand of the various communities. That was why he created 12 states. Then he talked about the Abura Accord, saying that Ojukwu announced what was not agreed upon. Then he also talked about the number of people who were killed during the Biafran War or Civil War. And he said the number being bandied is far beyond the number of casualties. Tony?
I listened to General Yakubu Gowon and I spotted some incoherency in his statement. And I will begin with when he said that after the Aburi Accord, Aburi is in Ghana, and that very accord was the meeting where they converged to discuss very important issues that could have prevented the Nigerian Biafra Civil War. They convened between January 4th to 5th, 1967. And then the host president was General Joseph Ankara, who was head of state of Ghana as at that time. And remember that Nigeria was facing serious political tension and threat of civil war after the 1966 coup and killing us Igbo officers. Remember that July remarch, or what they call it, where the meeting became very important to find a peaceful resolution. And I'm aware that on the side of Nigeria federal delegation, which was led by General Yakubu Gowon himself, Commodore J.E.A. Way, who was the naval chief at that time, even Lieutenant Colonel Hassan Kastina, who was the governor of Northern Region as at that time, Lieutenant Colonel David Ejo, who was governor of Midwest Region, and Lieutenant Colonel Mobalaji Johnson, who was governor of Lagos State as at that time, even Alhaji Kam Salem, who was Inspector General of Police as at that time, and Mr. Philip Asiodu, who was Federal Permanent Secretary, and Mr. M.D. Yusuf, who was Senior Police Officer, who later became the Inspector General of Police subsequently, and even Alhaji A.G. Soronke was Secretary to Federal Delegation. These were the federal government delegations, and I know some of them are still alive as we speak today. But then from Eastern Delegation, you had likes of Lieutenant Colonel Chukwemeka Ojukwu, who was the military governor of the Eastern Region at that time, and even Mr. J.O. Udoji, who was Eastern Regional Advisor. Remember, at a point he became Permanent Secretary. Remember Udoji, the role he played in civil service reform. You also have Lieutenant Colonel Hilary Njoku, who was military officer then, Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Awona, military officer, and even Mr. Piano KK. I think Piano KK is about 80-something years now. He was there as advisor, and even Mr. BC Mukede, advisor, and the EN Okafor. So, just like I said, there were key decisions. Some of these people, they are still alive. As we speak today, many of them have died anyway. But the key thing was decentralization of power. That is restructuring we are talking about. Where it was agreed that Nigeria should be run as a loose federation. That was one of the key agreements. Loose federation. Each region would have maximum autonomy, including control over its own affairs. It was agreed. But the issue, there was another one, Supreme Military Council should become the highest decision-making body, that's authority, and no decision will be binding unless approved by all regional military governors. If the Supreme Military Council takes a decision, it will only be binding. It will only be binding if all regional governors agree to that. And the head of state would always act on the advice of the Supreme Military Council. And there was also the issue of reintegration and reconciliation, because there will be efforts that will be made to bring back displaced persons to the original homes. And there must be pragmatic measures to ensure protection of lives and properties. Then the issue of military command, that the troops should return to their regions to reduce tensions. And then there was also a creation of a committee that was set up to work out the administrative and legal details of this agreement. But after the whole thing, they returned to Nigeria. The federal government delegation led by Gowon, they failed to fully implement the key decisions. The one was, there was this federal government published Decree 8, that was around March 1967, claiming to reflect Aburi, but it retained strong powers for the center, which, remember, the key issue was the centralization of power, where there will be loose federation. And Ojukwu said it contradicted the spirit of the accord, the decree that came sometime around March 8, 1967. And there were other things. But let me speak from what Gowon said yesterday. He said that after the Aburi Accord, it was also agreed that he will be the person that will make announcement on what was agreed as the leader of the country. That Ojukwu jumped in to make announcements which contradicted certain decisions taken at Aburi. And that was what led to the decree that was published on 8th of March 1967. And yesterday when I was listening to him, do you know what he said? He said that he fell sick. Yeah. That was what he said. He said he had serious fever and malaria. How long did you have that fever and malaria? You created a space, you created a forum that bred mistrust, misrepresentation, even blackmail, and anything, misinterpretation. You had those who went with you, and you also had the second in command. You fell sick, and the future of the country was at the precipice, was at the cliff, but was at the brink. The idea was immediately they return from Aburi, you will make a broadcast, national broadcast, after you must have made certain consultations and made a broadcast. You did not do that. If he had said what was agreed, then it becomes an issue of either let's contradict or let's, or it wasn't said so, it was agreed so. But he said that what Ojukwu went on to announce what was not agreed upon, and that was what prompted the decree he published. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: the only thing I spotted when he was making that statement, he said he fell sick. He left a space that caused misrepresentation of whatever that happened, and this could have saved that his singular sickness caused over 2 million lives lost.
Because he was saying that they talked about, creating this military zone, and it was agreed that there will be a military zone, but Ojukwu wanted, state governors to be in control of the military, whereas what they wanted is that let's just have these military zones, but the control should be from the central.
I listened to him when he said that, and Ojukwu has or had refuted this. When I think there was a book Ojukwu wrote, because I'm involved. Most of us read that book, and where he shared his thoughts, his insights on the whole journey, even the Aburi, that's his own story. I think if you also look at what Chinua Achebe wrote, there was a country. He also shared his own insights. And some of these men that went there, they are still alive. Some of them are still alive, both on the side of the federal government delegation and also on the side of the Eastern delegation. Some of them are still alive. So many of them were there where some of these things happen. But then it is only a sincerity of purpose and that of heart will vindicate what had happened. Because you need to seek truth for you to forge ahead. Without truth, everything will be going back. I keep saying this. He thought about that. It was agreed that troops, every soldier should return to their zone, to their free station. But he was talking about the issue of control, that Ojukwu had wanted regional or the military governors to be in control of their own military zones. But Ojukwu, in his book, refuted that. He said there was never a time that when you must have a loose federation, you are in charge of both the external affairs of the country and at the same time is military.
So now we have some key players who were instrumental in some of the things that had defined our history speaking up. Maybe others who have not spoken out, who have not opened up, should do so, because we have listened to Babangida. Finally, he spoke. The wife joined the fray, and now we have heard from Gowon. Maybe some other persons we also need to hear from them so that we'll see how the story is going to balance, because there's another thing that Gowon said. He said, and I want to quote it, the number of people who were casualties of the war is not in millions. The other side also refused all attempts to send aid into their camp.
When he said, because remember we had foreign observers, there are different documentations, commentaries about the civil war, and we can begin this argument now. What purpose? For me, it's needless. The question is, what was agreed at that Aburi Accord? If 50% was implemented, Nigeria wouldn't be where it is today. No. You may expect that 100% may not be implemented. If we had achieved that decentralization of power, that is what we call restructuring now. Restructuring. That is what we call restructuring. Because whenever you hear restructuring, it's all about decentralization of power. We had some of the things on the exclusive legislative list will be delisted and entered into concurrent list. So it's still the same thing. And after the war, let's assume that let's assume without considering that Ojukwu wanted that control. Why don't you seize that control and do other ones agreed during the Aburi? Agreed these decentralization of powers, and they said, this one, I'm not going to do this. Do the ones you could, but you did not do one. Even after the war, as a head of state, did you do one? The answer is no. If 10 things we agreed, if you had done 5, 4, we may not be where we are. Let's be sincere.
All right, so
I'm just curious to find out if the people of today are learning from all of these things. Like you pointed out, Franklin, they are telling their different sides of the story, and history is supposed to be a pathway for the future to not go back to where history had people at. And so I am hoping that we are actually learning, and that in the coming days we do not fall back to a similar spot.
Okay, so let's go to the phone lines now. 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694. You can get across to us.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so let's see who we have. Good morning.
Good morning,
Yes.
Michael.
Yeah. Good morning, Michael.
Good
From
morning,
where?
Good morning.
The voice of Honorable is the mayor. Don't know the calling from Howard this morning. Can I go on?
Okay, go on. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, let me first of all tell Gowon that all he said yesterday, I watched what he said. In fact, all he said was lies. He was telling lies because, like Olisa Mbeki said, if you are sick, why not you are in command, you have other people that will be sick. Then you kept calm. You don't want to let the country know the outcome of the meeting at Able. Then Ojukwu came out and did do the needful. Now you condemn him, pin it on him that he wants power. Like Olisa Mbeki said, even if Ojukwu wants power, what about the other agreement? So I just took all he said yesterday. In fact, I expect him to start to apologize for the Igbo people for the massacre, for the genocide he committed here. Yes, I expect him to come out and apologize. But all these defense that he made, I see it as not going through the way it's supposed to be. Then, I want to also commend you people for this program. You are educating people and you are opening our eyes. Like yesterday, Tinubu went to Benue. There's nothing, like Mbeki said, that the governor should have find a way to defend his people. That the president is just coming there for ceremonial sake because of what people are saying. And what is the outcome of that? Okay, he now went and add fire into fire by saying that we should give the land. How many other traders that he has ordered to be given land? I mean, let's start facing reality. And I want to tell you, by the way our people important people. And that is why they are doing everything they are doing in this country. And that is what kept this country blind, not going forward.
All right.
I want to thank you. You are doing a great job. Thank you and God bless you.
All right. Thank you for calling. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning, Mr. Sigal and Chisom.
Good morning.
By the time Joseph on the line, I'm reaching you this morning from Onitsha North headquarters here.
Okay, go on, sir.
Yes. I want to thank all of you in the studio. You've actually, most of the times I don't bother to call in because you must have done justice to the topics. You see, what happened in Benue State yesterday was a joke taken too far. We buried over 200 Nigerians, and the Mr. President did not even deem it fit to address Nigerians at the scene of that incident. They went to a well-organized hall, and the people had the temerity to be clapping, and Mr. President was busy laughing, telling Mr. Governor, you need to cooperate with former leaders and this and this and that. If anybody saying Mr. President set up a committee, I want to disagree with such a person. There was no committee set up. If you set up a committee, there should be a chairman, secretary, and define the members. Up to this moment, there's no chairman, no secretary. So it was a joke. I think the governor of Benue State is dancing a particular dance, a music. That something is not telling Nigerians, and even as a reverend father. Your people are being killed, and you're praising Mr. President. He took the intervention of the traditional ruler, Professor James, to tell Mr. President, these people are pure terrorists. It's not the communal classes. Then on the issue of Gowan, I want to tell Mr. Gowan, he should not provoke Igbos. He should stop coming to television to tell us all this. He should be apologizing to Igbos for the massacre we had during his period as president of this country. Enough of this defense and this. Where's the Ojukwu to defend himself? You are telling us all this yesterday so that the Ojukwu will come out from the grave to defend. We don't need it. He has done his work. So let him remain silent until the last day of his life. Then we'll just take it like that. Thank you and God bless Nigeria.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for joining. Let's see who we have next. Don't forget that the phone lines are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
I'm Emmanuel calling from Onitsha. Good morning.
Go on, Mr. Emmanuel.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, Olisa Mbeki, I just want to choose something. If not, I'll say it all. But one thing that is telling me in Nigeria is that Nigerians don't take the past and judge something. What is happening now is that Fulanis that don't have place they call their country want to take Nigeria as their country. I was observing one statement from I think Usman Sukutu. What he said the last time, I think. Yes, Usman, I think Kuba Sukutu. He said that they are the owner of Nigeria. And
Are you still with us? Okay, I think you have to call back. We can't hear you anymore. Hello, good morning.
good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Let me get him.
Okay.
My name is Wanganga Muko. I'm reaching you from Newe.
Okay, Wangaga, do me this very favor. Just walk away from your radio set.
I've gone away.
All right, go on. Let's hear.
I am very happy to hear Gowon speak about Biafra. The evil that men do lives with them, not after them. And they continue to live with them even after death. The Fulani herdsmen we are suffering today was one of those things he did during Nigerian Civil War. There were these people we call Godo Godo. He contacted them during Nigerian Civil War from Sahel region to come and help to wipe away the Biafrans. And after that, they will be settled with the land from the Biafra. At the end of the war, it happened that there was no victor, no vanquish. And these people are today killing his own people in Plateau State. I'm very happy he's alive, seeing all these things. So even if he tells lies against Ojukwu because it's no more, that's no problem. The same people he contracted to wipe away the Biafrans are today killing his own people. They are translated to Benue State, although before now they were Benue Plateau State. My joy about the Biafran issue is today it is affecting Gowon and his people more than Biafrans. Biafrans we have gone past the war issue. We are looking forward how we can survive more. And I don't think they are better than the Biafrans today. So my joy is that God will give him more long life so that he will see what these Godogodos will do more in Benue and Plateau. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Michael.
Michael from where?
Awada.
Okay, go on, Mr. Michael.
My contribution is that we should live about all this regionalism. Regionalism will not help the country. Nigeria should watch the war that is going on in Iran. It should be a lesson for everybody. You understand? Any country that is not united will fall. Because as I'm watching news now, you can see that Israel is massive bombing Iran. So we should be careful about crisis. Everybody in the world is avoiding crisis. Nigeria should forget about this north, east, south. It should not take us anywhere. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for calling. Good morning. Hello, can you hear us? Okay, try again. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
My name is Alex, calling from Goa.
Okay, Mr. Alex.
I'm on that.
Okay, thank you. Go on.
How are you?
I'm very fine. Go on, sir.
Nice to see you all here in this station. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Okay, please, I want you to do me a favor. I'm sick. And there was a day you people did a program which somebody mentioned stem cells. They are selling stem cells. And I couldn't pick their number that day. Please, tell me Olisa Mbeki, my friend. Can I have the number of those people that did that program, please? I'm sick. I need that stem cell. Can you do me a favor? I need it.
Okay.
Can I have the number of those that are selling it? Because I don't want to go to hell.
Okay. Let me explain something. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Those people that came here, they are independent marketers who came to market their products. All right? Yes. As I'm speaking to you now, I can't tell you that so and so is their phone number. So what we can do is that we can check with the commercial department. If we're able to get it, of course, we can say that we can get it across to you. If we can't, then when you hear them again, you can take the opportunity.
Oh my dear, if you can do that for me, I'm very, very happy because I've been searching for their number and I could not get it that day. All right, thank you. I'm listening. If you can give me their number,
all right, thank you.
For me.
All right, thank you. That program isn't our program. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
My name is Mike Kamara. Wishing you from the rising sun. What is precise?
Okay, go on.
Yeah. Talking on about what Gowon said. Please, as you are like the former caller said, let him stop provoking Biafra. Because if you come after him and his people do not like what. He's saying all these things because Ojukwu is no longer with us. And he continues provoking us instead of apologizing on the atrocities they committed against Biafra. And he sits here ranting and saying all manner of things. Please, somebody should go and warn him that he should not continue to provoke us. That's my take this morning. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So let's see. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Franklin and Chisom.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you. And as well to Olisa Mbeki.
All right, go on.
Calling from Onitsha.
Okay, go on.
I'm from what happened in Benin State yesterday. Because that to me, that is an APC political, what do they call it? Carnival. You understand? Wearing the beautiful dresses and even our students that are hungry under the rain. That is to say the kind of country we find ourselves on serious set of people. Mr. President, after you got there, now getting the report from those people, what do you now then do? Live together, arrest those people. Rubbish. What kind of country are we living inside? Yeah. Okay. After getting, you didn't even ask a question. How can some people win a gun, attack a community for more than 3-4 hours? No police or no security agencies arrange them. You didn't answer that question. If I am the president of this country, I will start from DPO of that community, the vigilante commander, even the army base that is around there. Any commander there, I will destroy all of them and even arrest and put them. They are going to sack so that other will listen. Then they go on. Go on and he's trying to rewrite history to us. But I want to tell him that he can even tell that to his own people because we are highly learned. So many people have knowledge that you cannot just receive. You understand? So he should go and write that history to his own community and his people. Listen us here, we are so wise more than him and stop provoking us more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. K. Good morning.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Franklin.
Good morning.
And the Dr. Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
Chidi Chukuma reaching you from work this morning. Yes, talking of this statement coming from the former head of state, Yakubu Gowon. I think if God is so gracious to him to have lived so long, and I thought that he has every opportunity to rewrite his history and to apologize to Nigeria and to apologize particularly to the Igbos for the abomination they must have ended. And this thing is affecting his people because in every action there must be equal and opposite reaction. You can only reap what you sowed. And the issues of the karma is real. I don't want to. That is the reason why we always react when we say people is that because of limitation of our people, our human limitations. But if we look deeply into spirituality, we understand what is going on, why some people are being attacked, and all this is dead. Some of these things is abomination that have been committed. The one is alive, and they see the abomination going on. The same pogroms, the same killing of young and old, the same extermination, trying to wipe out people. That is what is going on in Plateau and Benue. Remember that Benue State and Plateau are the same people, and this thing is happening unabated. And the one have never seen that to rethink what is actually going on. So it's coming up 50-something years ago just to bring this thing because I have been reading his history and the many statements he made that I have never seen him coming up with this trying to justify his evil action. It is not possible. And the Franklin, please, if somebody come up from, there is a caller from Benin. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you for calling. So let's get to go for this very commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hello, Philip.
Guy, how far now? It's 11:45. Waiting shop.
I beg, no vex. My landlord locked me for outside, though.
Again?
No vex. I beg, have you come sleep for your side this night?
Omo, my babe, they around, though. But nothing do you. Try call Celebrity Landlady.
Guy, serious now. Celebrity Guinea.
Celebrity Landlady. See, with Celebrity Landlady, you fit on landlord with just 100k every week.
Nah, lie.
I go lie for you.
Not true. You can own your dream land with just 100k weekly. Yes, with Celebrity Landlady Save to Buy plan, that property where you dream of fit be your own just like that. Oh, a Save to Buy plan allows you to pay for your dream land instrumentally, easy, flexible, and all yours. A Save to Buy plan is convenient and safe. Start now and become a proud property owner in top locations like Otulu Asaba, behind Ogwashuku Polytechnic, Admiralty Drive, Ibusa, and Isel Asaba. For more information, call us now on 0701 018 8042 or 0903 844 9351. Celebrity Landlady, turning you into a proud homeowner.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
All right, thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. We're trying to wrap up this very conversation, but we have to go to the Facebook page and then acknowledge the post you have there. And we have Master B SJP saying there is little truth in what Tortive said. Professor James, the traditional rulers of Tiv, he's saying he's from Benue State. Then Ifediegu Thank God says Gowon should boldly tell the whole world the genocide being committed against Biafra, or he should stay silent. Maazinwori Chikwarum Osinachi says, to me, what Gowon said yesterday is unacceptable because we all know what already happened after the Abre Accord between him and Dochuku, and the best he should do now is to tender an apology to the Igbos rather than speaking falsehood, because my own father has narrated to me what happened, and I have also read the book written by Ochuku because I am involved, which made a pure insight concerning the Abre Accord. He posted from Onitsha. And then Ebuka says President Tinubu's visit to Benue State was a good step, but it's not enough. He goes on to add, we need real action to stop the violence and protect the people. The killings have to stop, and the government needs to do more than just talk. He posted from Building Materials International Market in Ogede. Certainly, we are going to wrap up this very conversation. But before then, let's also head to this and also make this very acknowledgement. Coming from Eke Gonas Madreke, he says, okay, he said, good morning to our president for waking up early now. Okay, now is the time he remembers that his security chiefs are not doing their job well. We Nigerians are looking forward to seeing him, or rather to seeing how the security situation will be in the coming days. Okay, so these are the comments we have now. So we have to wrap up this very conversation. So most of the callers, of course, were disagreeing with what Gowon said. So is it a matter of let me speak my truth, irrespective of what the facts are?
Just like I said, I remember that book Ojukwu wrote. I had wanted Gowon to even refute some of the claims Ojukwu made in that very book. Ojukwu wrote that book in 1989. He came back from exile from Cote d'Ivoire. That was 1982. And then subsequently, he wrote that very book. And those book, or the very book in question, because I think there were many books wrote, but then I'm now talking about this very book Ojukwu wrote. And this very book, because I'm involved, addresses a lot of issues which reflect on the Nigerian Civil War and also provides commentary on governance, justice, and the state of the nation. So he published that very book in 1989 because I'm involved. So many years back, go on telling us some things now. Ojukwu is late, so he may not respond to Gowon. Gowon had opportunities to respond to Ojukwu, and then I have also called witnesses, those who were around when the accord was arranged. And I have also asked one question. Let's maybe forget some of the things being said. Why didn't he implement one of those things, or two or three or four of those agreements reached? Did he implement one? He did not. He did not implement one. He came down and then started creating states And that is where Nigeria is today. And today we are still crying for restructuring. Benue massacre. If we had done those things, those period, do you think that we Benue massacre? Do you think that we Plateau massacre? Do you think that most conflicts we have in this country will be on the way we have them? These things would have been taken care of many years back.
Okay, Chisom, we have to go.
Yes, definitely we have to go. And for me, I will still be suing for a lasting solution in the case of what is happening in Benue State.
Okay, on that very note, to thank every one of you for joining us today, and we are hoping that we'll find a way to heal as a country. Good morning, and thank you for listening. My name is Franklin and Ebuka.
You were my friend.